Welcome to a new episode of When the Kids Go to Bed. And we're doing it very different today. As you can see, we are joined by a panel of guests. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome, ladies. Welcome.
So I'll just go around, and if I can just get you to tell us what your name is and how many children you have and your current relationship status. So we'll start with...
Hi, I'm Laura. I have one child. She's 5 years old, and I am single and co-parenting. I'm unsure of which words to use.
Good. Perfect. Thank you.
You know our stories, so we'll move on to you.
Hi, I'm Jade. I have twins that are nearly 11, boy-girl twins, and a girl who is nearly 8. And I have a husband, and we have been together for 20 years and married for nearly 15.
Wow. Yeah.
Congrats.
Or commiserations. I don't know.
Whichever one you
Yeah.
choose.
Hi, you ladies. So I'm Nadine. I am single. I have a 17-year-old son to be. He'll be 17 next month. And
That was it.
Are you co-parenting?
oh, his father passed away. So no
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so today we are going to discuss how do you resolve conflict with the other parent. So obviously some of us might be in a relationship with a parent. It might be that you're not together anymore. How do we resolve those kind of issues, and what are the kind of issues maybe that are most common or tend to come up? Anyone want to go first?
There are a lot of issues, aren't there, really, just being a parent. Yeah, nobody can give you a handbook or tell you how to do it. You've obviously got... I feel like with co-parenting, so obviously I'm married and my husband has come from his family and his family set up, and I've come from my family and my family set up. So it is a learning, and there's the thing, I don't want to compromise, like no one wants to compromise, but as a marriage and as a family unit, there is a lot of compromising that goes along with it, and it is very difficult because it's tiring having children, and children are very demanding, and the house is never clean, and all of the boring, mundane, balls, bills, and did I say balls? Bills and balls. Bills and balls. They're all.
It's the cocktails. It's the cocktails.
Because also with co-parenting, I've just put it out there. Like all of the boring stuff, and then they want to have sex, and all of that. Do you know what I mean? Like there's all of those things. So it's a lot of juggling. But with the co-parenting thing, what I find difficult and a constant bone of contention or constant discussion point is, I feel like we're aligned in our values and our morals, and doing best for our children, and my husband's very family orientated for the children, probably more than just himself or me and him.
Good, yeah.
So that's really good. But there's ways in which he speaks to me in front of the children sometimes that I would, because he tells me off basically.
In front of them.
In front of them.
Do you find that undermines
It undermines me, because then the twins in synchronisation, nearly 11 going on 21.
Two at the same time.
They can tell me off as well and tell me about myself. And then I've got the nearly 8-year-old who's like the voice of reason, who can tell anyone about themselves in one little sentence. She's like an old Jamaican granny. So I find that the whole house, and they're all Pisces, I'm a Gemini, they all tell me off and tell me about myself, which... I mean,
don't you think that's a mum thing, though?
I think that's a mum thing.
I feel like that happens in my house as well. And then I'm like in the kitchen scrubbing something like...
But Jane, can I ask, how do you and your husband have conversations about this? Like, do you raise to him?
We have many conversations.
About...
Does he listen?
But you have raised to him like that about this specific area. Can you not talk to me like that in front of the kids or whatever?
I've raised it many a time.
What does he say? Does he see where you're coming from?
He just ignores me and carries on, like men do.
In the conversations, though, does he does he acknowledge it in any way?
Not really. I don't think he does.
I mean, I don't
think
know.
it's quite funny. I think because our relationship is quite bantery,
Right.
Yeah.
so we
Right,
kind
right,
of
right.
cuss each other.
Mhm.
But I find like everyone's cussing me in the house, and sometimes when you're tired, you're on your period or whatever,
Yeah, it's
you
too
know,
much.
stuff,
It's
Where-
and you're
where's the
tired,
line?
and I don't
Sensitive.
sleep well.
Yeah.
I get sensitive, and it is definitely a bone of contention.
Maybe he doesn't think it's
Maybe he doesn't
affects
think.
you as much
As
as
how
you're
That's
saying,
true.
because like you said, because you lot are bantering and stuff like that. Maybe he
That's
thinks,
true.
oh, like you've said it, but it's not
Yeah, it
really
does.
affecting you, or do you see what I mean? So that he doesn't
Yeah.
need to actually then.
So should we
fall
send this
through.
episode to him then? Yeah? We'll send
He
it
won't
by
care,
post.
and he'll still cuss me out. But we love each other, so that's the main thing, I
Yeah.
suppose.
I think it's like, for me though, it's always about the acknowledgement, because it's, and I've got to know this about myself through
Yes.
co-parenting, you know, and co-parenting separately, that I'm like, why am I upset? And why,
Yeah.
like, what is it? Because if I don't know, how am I going to, like, even
Explain
begin
it.
to try
Express
and
it or-
communicate that to that person?
Yeah.
And you're in the midst of a breakup, or like you say, the kids are all up, or they're screaming, or you've got work stuff, like, do you know what I mean? The life is always pressured. But I don't mind you being human. I just want you to
acknowledge
to
my
acknowledge
humanness.
to acknowledge it. So if you've stepped out of line, or you've flown off the handle or whatever, it's like, I want you to say that.
Yeah,
And recognise that.
And
yeah.
recognise that.
It's like empathy, I think, is
Yeah, and
Yeah.
this
being
is
heard.
and this is what's
It's
gonna
being heard, yeah.
this was gonna be my question. Do you think it's easier or harder for two parents to resolve conflict when they're together or not together? And the
good
reason why I
question.
ask this is because if you are married, then you know that you want to be married and you want to stay together. So there's a
That's true.
strong reason behind resolving this
Yeah.
conflict. Whereas if you're not with the other person, sometimes it can just be like, I don't need
That's your
to
business
resolve this
over there.
conflict.
Yeah.
I don't care how you've taken it.
Yeah.
I don't care how you feel. That's it. It's done. It's finished. I'm moving on.
And also, if you're in that part of your separation where everything is still raw,
Especially, exactly.
it's like, it doesn't actually matter what the thing is. You could look back on it in years and be like, I don't know why I got so upset with that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
In the
you have
moment.
not found your level, your kind of peace with each other.
Yes.
So, yet.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So there's not even an answer to resolve,
But
because
you know-
they couldn't even do anything to make it better,
Yeah.
because it's kind of already in your mind.
Or you haven't got that bit of you haven't established that communication where you could bring something up.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know
I
what
agree.
I think? In that, with any conflict, it's not about the other person, it's finding peace within yourself.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So that, they might just be an arsehole and they're never going
Not
to
gonna
listen or
change.
change.
Yeah.
Leopard don't change his spots. But to be a good communicator, which I hope to always be, and speak my mind and not hold things in, because I think a lot of women
Hold
Yeah,
things
might
I
hold,
do. I do.
hold
To keep the
things
peace.
in
To keep the peace.
to keep the peace,
Yeah.
but also
I do.
they hold a lot in their chest and inside. But I'm very like, I say what's said on the tin. Whatever's in my mind, I just say it, whether that's like, just my big mouth. But I feel like it's better out than in.
Bit like
Because
I
when
prefer that as
I
well.
feel like a lot of women,
Mhm.
like say for instance, if you want a birthday, you want this thing for your birthday, you're expecting him to think about, you're going to go to that restaurant and
Mind
that
reader.
present. No,
just
send
say
him
it.
the fucking link.
Yeah. Send him what you
Tell me
want.
what you want. Like
Yeah.
when I wanted to get married,
Yeah.
when I wanted to get married, like I was had my 5-year plan. Like we've been going out 5 years, all right. What do you want for your birthday? A ring, motherfucker. These people need to
I'm going to write this
they are
down,
men.
because I too am trying to get a husband, so I'm going to write this
Like,
down.
men are from Mars, women are from Venus. They don't think the same way we think. They're not
That's true.
empathetic. They
And
don't.
we
they don't
expect
give
them
birth,
to.
and we expect.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
expect.
To be a mind
Expecting
reader.
you'll be disappointed. Tell
Yeah.
people what you want,
What you want.
and then if you ain't got it, then you've done your bit.
Yeah.
You know,
And
it's
also,
not it.
I would rather be upset with someone because I communicated to you what
That's
I wanted.
correct.
So, and even just, like how I want to be treated, or you did something wrong and then I communicated to you that I don't like that. And I'd rather be upset with you because you didn't listen
Yes.
and you did it again,
said
rather
yourself,
than
you're not saying.
you're just, I never said,
Women
and then now you
expect-
did something and you
Women
don't know
expect
what you
men
did.
to mind read.
Yeah.
And I think, and they don't. They can't. They just want to know what they need to do and how to do it sometimes.
I
But
feel
yeah,
like men
it's-
are very simple creatures. It's like sex, food, sports, right?
Men, we are not trying to offend
yeah,
any of the men
I'm
that
not
are
even
watching
joking.
this.
We don't always agree with our guests. Just
or
saying.
women, right? But if you just keep the conversation really simple,
Simple.
and
Yep.
just say what you want, like there's no holding, like, because if you don't say what you're getting frustrated in yourself, and you're
Yep.
getting angry, and you're holding, you're getting upset, and it's finding peace within yourself. So any conflict, at least you've said your bit. If they haven't listened,
That's
more
on
for
them.
them,
Yeah.
and karma can deal with that. But you, especially if you're teaching your children, you want to
Yeah.
teach your children to be good communicators. And in order for your children to grow up to be the kings and queens that we're trying to get them to be, you need to actions. Actions follow. So if mummy isn't communicating with daddy, your child will tell you about yourself. Do you
Your
know what I
child
mean?
will
Like,
tell
My
daddy.
children
things.
do tell me about
Yeah.
myself.
So
Shout out to them.
I think in co-parenting, that like, I just wrote it down. That it's like
Such a teacher.
have done your bit, and that was the hardest thing for me. That was the thing that really shifted it for me in our dynamic. That I am now trying as best as I can, and I'm not always perfect at it. To say I am doing this, I am communicating this, I am asking this for me, and then I'm leaving it alone.
yes.
Because
What you do
before-
with that information.
Yeah, but
You're
it's
not in
also
control
like
of it.
instead of me still waiting
Do this,
for
do
them
that,
for
get
you
this
to
done.
see it from my perspective,
Yeah.
for you to feel
Yeah.
it like I feel it, for you to agree with me. I need you to agree with me, and it's like also. Where do I get off asking that? Like sometimes, do you know what I mean?
Accept
it's like
that's okay.
So it's like trying to just do my bit for me, and that has been a massive change.
It
in
does.
our
When you get to that
Self-reflection.
place,
Yeah.
it does.
Self-reflection.
Everything does shift for you in the sense of. So when I was in the early stages and everything was still raw, when I got to that acceptance point, that's when everything, all of the conflicts, all of the disagreements and arguments changed. Because I could deal with it a lot better knowing that, okay, I've said my piece.
Yeah.
He's going to do whatever he wants and in the way that he thinks is best for him at the time. And then I can just, you know, I've done
I
a
think
bit.
I think that's a huge point for us to make today to people who are in the early stages
God,
of
100%,
breaking up, or they're
Yeah.
trying to a co-parenting journey, because like you said, you can't control the other person and you're just going to be angry at yourself, and it is hard to say like you said,
really
like it was
hard.
like you both said when you came to that place, so
Yeah.
you weren't always there.
No,
You just,
no.
but when you got there, then there was a huge shift. So some people won't be there yet, and that means you will be struggling a lot, because you will be reliant on what the other person says
Because I
and
guess
That's
does.
why I started listening to all of these things, all of these little things, all of these. I remember that conversation that Jada had with Cherie on the Red Table Talk, and I was there on my phone going, "Oh my God, it's going to be okay." Training it, we can sit around the table, and everyone's going to love each other, and it's fine. Do you know what I mean? Like because when you're in the middle of it,
It's
you
so
don't
hard.
feel like it's
Yeah,
ever
there's
gonna
no way
change.
out, innit?
Time when you ask me, like, think about the things that I would do differently, is that I would, and I found this so fucking hard. But like, actually be willing to give time, to just let time do
Yes.
something,
Time
to
to
shift
heal.
This is what it is. With us women, we want it now.
I wanna
How we
action
want
it.
it, action it
Fix
now.
it, sort it.
And actually, like what you ladies have said, it's about that self-reflection, that time to feel, to let go, to accept, to heal, and then present yourself in a better way. To hopefully then promote the man to raise his vibrations, because we've raised ours as a female.
Exactly. And I feel like you can't, like one thing that like resonated with me was I used to think, how can I be pointing my finger and blaming and shaming and naming everything that I think he's done wrong or is doing wrong, when I'm not doing
Looking
none
at
of that
yourself.
work myself.
Yeah.
So I feel like one of the things that helped with resolving conflict was, let me stop focusing on what he's doing and not doing, and let me focus on what I'm doing and what I'm doing well. Where can I
Become your
work
best
on a little bit better? How can I improve? And when I started focusing more on what I'm doing, how I'm running my household, how I'm disciplining my children, how I'm
Because it's always
speaking
down
to them,
to us.
what is my energy when I wake up, then I can be like, when I'm now having a disagreement with him, I can just see it as a disagreement.
Yeah.
I've got my viewpoint
Holding
and
firm.
you've got yours. It's
Holding
not about
firm.
me versus you as the
Yes.
person no more. It's about, okay, we both want to raise these kids in the best way we know how. You've got your style and way, and I've got my style and my way. But,
But I think also, have you heard of this phrase, love language?
Yeah.
Okay, so you make, so...
she said,
She
phrase.
said love.
No, I know,
Love language.
No, but I haven't like looked into it or assessed it. But
Mm-hmm.
from what you're saying, right? So you made these children in love, whether it was a one night stand or a long relationship, whatever, right? So you've fallen out of love or whatever's happened, or some past hurt or whatever's happened. But in order to bring your children up in love, okay, because that's what you want them to be, right? Lovely humans, in love, in a safe environment, feel them safe and nurtured and all of this. There's a love language. So when my husband was cussing me this morning, after I already told him, like, I don't like and I'm really fucking tired. I'm only at 4 hours 6. She wake me up and I had her out.
Just in case anyone thinks marriage is all
easy.
rosy.
It's a fucking headache for my day. But bless him, love him, granddad. But basically, what I'm saying is, when so I've just accepted, not that he's always right and he's always going to be perfect, but his love language to me may be this little cussing thing. So I've just turned my way of thinking about something. You know, when there might be a really annoying thing you do, and you just think, oh, it's his love language. Not that you might say that, but if you turn the way you're thinking about it, you know, it's
I think that's important. The intention, because like I said, when you're angry at someone, you think that everything they do is to get you. Like it's, you know, they say I can't get there at a certain time. You think, oh my gosh, they're out to get me. They want to ruin everything. They don't want me to go in it. And it's like,
get control.
and it's just like maybe they just can't get there.
He's just running late today.
And
it's not about me.
I feel like he did it on purpose. And so
also,
it's the intention. Whereas if that was your friend and your friend said they were running late, you don't think anything of it. You think, my friend loves me. My friend's a nice person.
But you've usually got that way to be able to say that to them. Like, that really bugged me that you were late today, and it not feel like that's going to rupture everything.
That's
I
true.
think that, like, when you're maybe particularly co-parenting, because that's like separated parenting, that's all I can kind of talk from. In those early days, it was like, it didn't matter what it was, everything was going to take us right back to the rock bottom.
So much
Every
hurt.
single thing was going to do it, and I think that's probably the same on both sides. But I was going to say that one thing that I really like hearing is the way that you married people. I didn't know how to say that. I was like,
You kind of people.
you kind of.
Not that, trust me.
Aiming
I know,
Trust me. I would have been never arguing. Tell me. Seriously, it's not that.
But when I could frame the arguments or the disagreements or what we were arguing about in the same way, they're doing it as well. They're arguing about how much sugar there is in the. They're arguing about what time is a good bedtime. And you're like, it's not about our relationship.
Because we're not together.
It's about parenting.
And also, when you're like spiritually, when you're getting angry at something or someone annoys you, whatever, it's actually a mirror of yourself, because there's something in that is reflecting on yourself, and you need to look back at yourself.
This is it.
Patience.
Nadine, did you, before your child's dad died, did you have a co-parenting relationship, or were you together at the time?
We were together, and then he moved away. We were separated for about 3.5. I still raise my son today with certain morals that my son's father wanted for him when he was younger. Co-parenting, we've done things totally different, because I work in early years, so I'm all about, you know, being led by the children.
Airy fairy.
Airy fairy.
As they would call
Was
it.
he like that as well? Or?
No.
Okay, so there you go. Huge
Totally
difference.
not. Caribbean. Rasta, very like, why are you giving him that toy? What's he going to learn from that toy? But I'm like, you know, early years. So we had a lot of differences in materialism, mobile phones, technology.
So how did you?
Well, as a mum, I kind of a little bit. Yeah, I was a bit like, no, this is what he needs. It's going to be good for him. And it did cause arguments.
That was going to be one of my questions of, is it an equal say? Like, whether you're together in a relationship or you're or we're separated, are we seeing things equal? Are we getting 50-50 say? Is, like you said, for me personally, it's like, no, as the mum, I take over.
I think it's in context. I think it depends. So things like
These guys are triggered. I'm triggered them right now. I'll be interested to find out
We're
why.
in the relationships.
That's the thing. We're just like,
yeah.
because
These
it's our
two
house. No one
these
can
two are
see what
triggered. So
goes on.
we'll hear what the D says, and then I'm going to ask you why you guys are so triggered right now.
No, go on.
Yeah, no, I think. Sorry, draw me back to the point because I was getting caught up with you.
You say you think it's for the context. So like I was saying, like, is it equal? Because
it equal
as
decision-making?
me and Laura can say, like, because we're not with the other person. From my standpoint, it's like I'm the main carer, therefore I will pull rank and make
that's
the
what I think.
decisions.
I think as a primary carer, which most of the mummies are, I think we do pull ranks like 60-40, maybe 65.
But then aren't there maybe some men who and want to lead their family that in like I'm just thinking I just
Do you know what?
imagine
I
some
think
men say when they get in their family they will make the rules, they will make the decisions. So then are they leading and
Well,
you
my
have to follow?
son's father, actually, which I was really annoyed about. Look at her, look, she's sorry, God. She's like, she's
Let me tell me about the rest.
he actually enrolled my son in a nursery that I didn't know about. I didn't go, and I work in early years.
Oh,
He
wow.
went and done the visit himself and said he's rolling it. He paid the deposit. I'm like, huh? So that was
He's
one
like,
of our
yes,
first
wow.
things. That was a big,
Yeah.
yeah, that was huge for me.
Yeah.
But
How
then
did you
us
deal with
women,
that?
Yeah, what happened? Did he go to that nursery?
he went to the nursery.
Oh, really?
I ended up running the nursery a few years later.
I think this is an example. This is an example of a man making a good decision.
Well, it was actually bad.
The man making
A bad
a
decision.
silly decision and the
Yeah.
woman taking it back.
It was a bad
And bringing it all
decision.
back
I
to
wasn't happy
normality.
with the quality of the nursery, and I ended up running it afterwards.
Oh.
So
You go,
I
girl.
actually
Wow.
I knew that I wasn't happy with the standard, but he just felt from a male's perspective of simplicity.
Apologetically
It's
looking.
a nursery and it can do these basics. Whereas I think with us mums, we look at things a bit more in detail.
Yeah, I'm thinking, what's the aura?
Yeah.
What's
What's the energy of
going
the
on with the
staff?
energy of
That's
these women
right.
here that are
Yeah.
working? I'm looking at everything.
Has anyone got an example of where they have maybe lost in the conflict? Like
Yeah.
it didn't go your way.
That's a good one.
Always, really?
Go
Is that
on.
common,
No,
BJ?
I mean,
She's like, pull over.
right.
Go on, Jade.
Breathe, and this is why I do yoga. No, and I drink and I smoke. So anyway, right.
Is that the Holy Trinity?
So anyway,
Relaxation.
yeah. Right. So basically, my husband, bless him, I love him to pieces, and we are very much in love. all
Married
these years
people
later.
always say that before they say certain
Something
things.
bad.
They always say that. My husband, I love him.
Yeah, she said it 3 times.
Yeah.
We believe
He's not going to
you.
listen anyway. He won't listen. He don't listen to anything I say anyway. So basically, I call him my granddad. So Tyrone is like an old African granddad, right? So I'm like the fun, drink and do whatever I want, and the fun girl, and he will have to pull me back and just say, "Whoa there, girl," and tell me off and like sit down for a minute. Okay, fine. He does look after me. Then there's also with the conflict of the children. For instance, what you raised about, iPhone, iPads, all of that, right?
Yeah.
So I went to university. He did he went to college, but he didn't go to university. So I'm more like academic.
Yes.
Get my kids a tutor, try and get them to the best school and all of that. He'll go to school. We're looking at the same school, and he thinks that school's good, and I'm like, boy, no. And like, I want it this way. And then there's also the whole conflict with children and these bloody iPhones. Now, I'm not the best example because I'm not leading by example, not being on my phone all of the time. Although I will say, like, you are children, I am the adult, and you haven't learned how to read and write properly yet. Okay? But you want to be on YouTube, TikTok, and you've got your headphones on all of the time. But every time I say it, my husband's like, just leave them alone. And
Oh, I thought you was going to say the opposite. I thought you was going to say
No.
he didn't want them on
No.
it. Oh, okay.
So this is like a constant battle in my house, and I feel like I'm just constantly losing the battle. But maybe my new stance will be to lead by action, example.
Also, with that battle, we're losing like kind of culturally. Because
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
like,
definitely.
I've made a couple of bold statements. Totally unlike me. I've like, she's not having a phone. Like, she's not having one. And all. Because all that goes through my head is that somebody's going to be sending her this and sending her that and sending her this, that, and the other. And she's not going to want to tell me or
How
something
old's
like
your
that.
daughter again?
She's 5. And I'm like, look, she can have a tablet, she can have a thing. I want to like plug. Do you remember when the phones were plugged into the wall?
Yeah.
And
Do you
you
remember?
got a
And you
call
sit there. And you had to
from
be at
somebody,
home.
And you had
and
to
you had
sit
to
by the
sit on the
phone.
telephone table talking
That's
to that
right.
boy, like
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, I've got this grand idea of all these rules in my house that anybody who walks through my house, they're gonna have to put the phone in like these baskets, and there's gonna be nothing here.
Can
and my
I just
friends are
say-
looking at me like, try.
That will go out the
Try
window.
it, exactly.
Yeah.
Try it.
It's-
So it's like you can want this as your value system, as your thing, but then, and actually, if I like to be objective here, if I got my wish, would I be doing more harm? Because she doesn't understand how to
How to
interact with the
navigate,
phone,
yeah.
or how to you know,
But
with
it's
social
about
media and
teaching
all
them.
that stuff. And
It's
so
about
I
teaching
feel
them
lost
now.
with that one.
Do you know what it is though? But there's
Teaching
one.
them now.
There's obviously one thing to be fighting culturally what's going on
Yeah.
in society. But what about if the dad didn't see the same viewpoint as you? When do you pick your battles? Like, do you see what I mean? How many? Because you can't win them all. And sometimes I think I'll let you have that one because I'm saving my win for a better one, for a bigger and better one. No, you gotta let them go. You gotta feed their ego sometimes.
How many do you get?
I feel like
Pick your
Does
battles.
it recome
I'm
every year?
just
Do you
saying,
get-
like, you know, sometimes you think I think, oh, let you have that
I
one.
feel
Then.
like
Like,
my
oh,
little
I'm
one's dad kind of had that. So my thing was, my little one is not having an iPad. Yeah. No way are you having an iPad because you're already, Mummy, can I use your phone? Mummy, can I play a game? Daddy, can I use your phone? So everyone in the house has phones and iPads and
You don't
everything.
need one.
So he's already got
Yeah, you got-
access to so
yeah.
many screens
right,
already.
right.
So, because it was his birthday coming up and he was like, let's get him an iPad. And I was like, no.
How old is he?
At the time, he was going to be 4. So now he's 5. And I've just said no. Right now, no. But now he's getting that little bit older. He's at school now. We're more into that
Learning.
routine. So there are things on the iPad that he can
Learning.
do that the school
Yeah.
give us,
Yeah.
the
That's right.
apps and the little
Yeah.
maths
Yeah.
tasks and
Yeah.
stuff. So it's more, for me, it's more about, I've changed my standpoint in the sense that he could have his own, but I would have restrictions for him.
Yeah.
So there's certain times you can have it, at
That's
certain
correct,
times you're
yeah.
going to use it, and then it's off, and you're not
That's
having
right.
it no more. But that's me that's going to manage that.
That's
Because
right.
you're at work.
Yeah.
My kids are doing their own thing, homework or out with their
And that's
friends.
where I
It's
say
only
in
going to be me
context.
that's doing it.
Because if you're the primary carer and you're going to be managing it, I would say you would have the 60. 40.
And I feel like that's
But-
why he took that as a small loss. Like,
Yeah, but-
okay, if you say no, then fine. Because there are other things where he will say and have his foot down and say, I don't agree.
But you know what?
It's not
Whether
running.
you're together in the relationship or you're separated,
Yeah.
depending on what parent is there leading at the time,
yeah.
even if you're the primary, whenever they're there. So like what Jay was saying with her husband, if when he's there, he lets them have it, and then when you're not there, then like when you come back
Yeah.
in, you don't let them have it. That's
Yeah.
what I find difficult with in my situation.
Yeah.
That I've tried to discuss trying to have the same rules
Yeah.
and
Rules that go across the
you know,
house.
for
And children pick up
consistency.
on that.
Yeah.
hard.
And one time the feedback from her dad was, when she's with you, you do what you want. And when she's with me, I'll do what I want. And then, you know, at first it was like, okay, if this is like minor things, like you said, like, okay, the iPad, you let her go on it more than I would. It seems quite small.
Yeah.
But if it gets to
Long
something
term.
big, and like she's a teenager, and I say her curfew is 9, and when she's at your house,
It's 11.
it's 11. And I'm not going to let that go. Like,
Yeah,
that's not
no.
going to, do you see what I
Yeah.
mean? So,
But this is where it's
But by
like
then you've
the
lost the
picking
will
your
to
battles on
live.
the circumstances because it depends on who
It's
you
context,
are.
Drinking and
yeah.
smoking like me.
Jay's not making me want to get married.
The accuracy.
Yeah.
Because I'm on my 3rd child. And it's
Yeah, that's what I
long.
mean. That's what I
I'm
mean. 'Cause I've got 3
tired.
children
Yeah, I'm
now. It's like,
tired.
oh,
Yeah.
you get there. Like
But that's the
one
other
is,
thing,
I
innit?
think one child is a pet, 2 is a zoo, 2 is a zoo, and 3 is a jungle, and anything fucking goes.
Pet.
One child is a pet. That's your friend. It's a little friend who's looking after it.
no.
2 is a zoo. 3 is a jungle. Anything. And fucking a husband. I'm just trying to survive out here, babe.
I feel like she's right. I don't have 3 kids, but I feel like she's right.
I'm telling you, she's right.
Yeah, because I'm tired already. And
I'm
I've
always
got
right.
one.
Just no one fucking listens.
Well, we're listening to you today, okay? All right, let me ask you all another question, slightly off topic, but what would you say is your parenting style? You've touched on yours a little bit because you're early years. A little bit Montessori, would we say?
Yeah, a bit Montessori.
Let the
But I'm
child
still
lead.
Caribbean old, as in my mum, you know, not necessarily children should be seen and not heard after certain times, a little bit. But no, I think I'm still like older Caribbean. I'm quite strict. I've got, you know, strong moral values.
Okay, Jade?
I'm a little bit Jamaican, old school grandmother, a little bit. But I'm also very conscious that I want my children to have fun. So I'm very like doing art, music, and you know, but a little bit of everything, like balance. I mean, I need to pick up on this whole iPad thing, but in general, my kids are polite when they go outside. They're a bit rude to me and feisty in synchronisation because it's twins. But everybody always says how polite and well behaved, you know, and you know my daughter's been at Parliament this week, and you know, like
So they're doing
they're
stuff.
engaged
Yeah.
with the world
exactly,
around
and they're
them.
very intelligent.
What do you say, Laura? Especially because yours 5.
Yeah.
So what
I
do you
say
right
that I'm like a kind of psychologically imbalanced bipolar parent of where I feel like I'm like
Social services?
Don't worry, I am.
This woman is crazy. She's raising a child.
I'm like,
said that. You admitted that.
no, but I'm saying because I feel like I've got these two styles. So
Okay.
it's like so it's like I feel like I've got that kind of shouty northern mum, like you just do it, just get it, just do it, and when I hit that pitch, don't
play. Don't play with it.
We're all in that.
And then I want to be all like, shall we discuss it? How do you feel it? Sit down and listen to your feelings. and I look at this poor child who she doesn't know.
Oh, wow. Laura's me. I take all of that back.
Yes,
Laura
me too.
is me.
Me too.
That is me. I know
And then
exactly.
It's like, but I'm like, no, but this is about shoes and getting out of the house. Why do you think that we are going to discuss this now? And I have told you about Mummy's train, and I have tried to tell you that I'm trying to stay calm. And Mummy has tried to do this with you now. Shall we do our deep breaths? And you don't want to.
Do you need the deep breath, Mummy?
Then she leads me on the deep breaths sometimes. And I'm like that, like my nails are like digging into me. And then she's like, Mummy, breathe. I think you need to calm down. I'm like, child, I have been level here.
Do you ever feel like a fraud sometimes?
Always.
Especially
Yeah,
like
always.
because you know like you have
All
these
the time.
you have these conversations, especially with us, like we have these conversations
so
in
funny.
public about parenting and how you know how it should
amazing we are.
how it should be done. You know, we discuss all the time how it should be done and all that. And then you're in your house, like even us, we're on the phone sometimes, and then we shout at our kids, and we realise the other one's on the phone listening. But yeah, you know, then you have this moment, and you think, oh, I haven't demonstrated any of the things I talk about or I've learned.
And you thank God there's not CCTV.
Yeah, and then you just have to remember, but I'm human, and I've had a human feeling, like.
Crying. If I'm upset, if I'm angry, I'm human. I'm not just mum.
Yeah, I apologise to my child.
Yes,
I
I
apologise.
apologise.
I'm not
to
as
say that,
great.
yeah.
I'm not
Yeah, I
as great
apologise
at
all the
doing
time.
that.
Oh, I apologise.
I do.
Oh yeah, I've got no problem saying sorry because I can't get it right.
I want her to see that you do it wrong, you get it right, tempers get high, tempers
Yeah,
are
because
away,
I'm not going to
and
be able
then
to
you
avoid
bring
it.
And then you come down and you
Yeah, because
admit
one thing
or
I'm not going to be able to
accountable
do
or whatever you do.
is avoid making mistakes. It's not going to happen.
Yes,
I
that's
can't.
right.
That would be too hard. So I'd rather explode or do it wrong or whatever, and then afterwards I go, I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have shouted. I should have said it like this. Blah 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 blah, and we're good now.
But it's when it's when you've really fucked up.
Yeah.
When
Every day.
every day.
she does the same thing that you've done, like with the hand gestures or the tone or the influence, and you're like, oh,
Yeah, you're like, oh shit, what have I done?
cannot even
Especially
challenge you on that
with my
because
little Alexis.
I've
In the
told
mirror,
you that.
looking at
And
yourself.
my mum and dad do so much for us. They're amazing. But my dad is like
You
this
must be
half the
cracking
time.
up. Yeah.
That's
Like
your
my-
child.
like
Do you know
my
what my
daughter.
he's like? Do you know what I say? Do you know what my excuse is? Yeah, but I'm 37.
Yeah.
I say it's your fault.
I'm allowed to be like this. This took 37 years of training. Okay, she's 9. Why has she got it so quickly? Like, I'm allowed to be me. Like, she cannot be
so
the.
you're basically saying you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
I'm just saying,
Or do
like,
as
allow
I
me.
say, not as I do.
Exactly.
Exactly. Like you're saying it should be right. It's only 9-year-old.
Get it? Right. I've earned this. When you're an adult, you can do what you want to do.
I have found though, like, because the apologizing thing didn't come naturally to me when my oldest two were younger.
That's me.
I feel it was like, because I was getting a lot of my tips and stuff from my mum, who's quite old school. My mum never apologized to me. Never.
I don't think my mum said
I don't remember. Like deeper things as I've become an adult, yes. But when I was a kid, if she lost the plot, she's lost the plot because of us. So why am I?
And you just
Expecting
knew.
the mum to do that.
No,
Nobody
I
was
would
expect-
never.
They came from that culture
Yeah,
where
yeah.
it's
You
like,
just
why
knew
would you even think
if
about
you went downstairs in the sitting room later, like she shouted at you, so you got to go upstairs. If you then come back and she's let you back in, like no, she's not said that. You're like, oh, it's finished.
Yeah. Or when my mum came in with some food, oh, do you want something? That was my mum's.
Yeah, you're like, oh, wicked. You're like, this is over.
That was like the height has come down and we're back to normal again.
Yeah.
Okay. But as I've gotten older, I studied psychology, became in education and stuff like that. I was like, actually, the child needs to understand that we are modeling problem solving. Because we're talking about conflict today, but really what we're talking about is teaching our children to solve problems. We're always going to have
to
problems.
avoid conflict because you're never going to.
This is it. This is it. So me sitting down and saying, look, I lost my shit because I've held my tongue for 3 days when you haven't done the dishes when I've asked straight away.
Oh my God.
And today, I've
But who's
blown.
counting, guys?
Yeah.
Who's counting?
And I've blown now because I've been holding my tongue.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm coming and explaining that to you.
That's what I do now that he's mature.
Yeah, but I feel like that's changed over time. And I feel like for the people that are new parents or have recently come into a co-parenting situation, allow yourself or just remind yourself that parenting is a journey. And as a mother, you're not going to be the same woman to each of your children.
No.
And you're going to take time to learn how to problem solve at different stages when it's different shit.
I saw a brilliant
life lessons, right? So years and years ago, before I had children, but it's reminded me of this book that I read, and it was called The Key by Joe Vitale. And he, like in a spiritual way, he said these 4 phrases could heal the world. If we all said, I love you, I'm sorry, forgive me, and thank you. So thank you for the lesson. Forgive me, even if it's for yourself and your soul. But when we're teaching our children, I think these 4 phrases, or in co-parenting, whatever. Like if you step back and think, okay, what have I got to do today? Is this my right to argue with that person, or to obviously it's not going on in my house and I'm losing my shit all the time. But it's nice while we're sitting here talking.
We're modelling.
In theory.
This is what I need to do. I'm just reminding myself, because you do love that. Like when we're trying to teach these children. So whatever shit we're going through, they're watching and listening to us. And even though we're not saying some things, they're picking up on things. And as long as we have this constant dialogue and openness and ability to apologise and to love and to forgive and say thank you, and even thank you for the lesson sometimes, because even if your partner's being an absolute cunt, do you know what I mean? Like if you go out and go for a
Speaking from
walk,
experience.
if you go out for a walk or go and find yourself, go with your girls or whatever you need to do just to breathe, and you come back and you just think, I'm not going to pick that bell because I've got some other shit that I need to get done.
Well, this is why. This is why I asked you guys. Sorry, love. This is why I asked you guys, what is your parenting style? Because I've recognised that shift and change and transition over time. Have you ever thought about it before today? And I will ask the listeners and watchers, have you thought about your parenting style? And then also, have you thought about your co-parent, the dad or the mum of your child, about their parenting style? Because when you do think about it, it makes it a lot easier when you are approaching difficult situations or a disagreement or a conflict.
Or even different stages in child's development.
This is it as well. So it just helps you when you think, okay, I have my style and they have their style, but our goal is the same.
Yes.
But this is what I was going to say about those different rules in different houses, because it's like on a certain kind of logical thing, I think about, right, well, let's not get into an entrenched argument about what you do in your house and what you do, what I do in my house, because that's wasting time for arguing in a way.
Yeah.
And maybe she needs to understand that different people have different rules and different stuff like that. And then you look at it from the other side, you're like, is it more useful for this child? So sometimes I think with parenting styles and everything, you just kind of can't win.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think
I feel
constantly we're looking for the right answer though. Do you not think
but
at the
because
moment?
we're constantly evolving, my style today might not be
It's
the same in
different.
10
That's
years'
what I
time.
think as
Do you know
well.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm always going to be a parent.
I actually now see a lot of what my son's father used to say. Actually, I see it coming
From
to
his
fruition.
point. You see? Yeah.
Now he's
I've learned a
16.
lot.
Now that
I've
he's
learned a lot.
16,
Yeah.
I actually thought from the age of 8 your father was going to raise you anyway. That was always my mind point because it's a boy child as well.
Yeah.
So there is that difference between a boy
what
child.
we would do,
That's
what
correct.
they would do.
Yeah. And I think men as well, their parenting style is very useful sometimes. Sometimes I do think we are a bit too da-da-da-da. And sometimes we do need to be. So the fact that there is that balance is...
Yeah, I think my daughter's father can in some ways offer her so much more calm.
Yeah.
And like when he comes down to her level, he really comes down to her
and she'll
level.
relate to it.
And I'm like, not stepping on that because that's like...
So if we move on to close then to a bit of reflection, is there anything that you could pick up on to say you would do differently or a tip for anyone else? So I think what you just said, Laura, about if you think about what the other parent can offer that you can't offer, because that is something that I miss, that by my daughter's dad not being in the house with me, I lose the other person to calm the situation down, to help me when I'm tired, you know, to help, and that's just a benefit to my daughter because otherwise you just get me who may be tired, angry. So
that's correct. Yeah,
just at me. So I do miss out on that, and I feel that impact. So sometimes if you can remember, I guess what the other parent can offer that you can't offer.
Well, first thing is, I don't feel, me personally, I can give my son in particular everything that he needs as a woman.
Definitely.
I feel that there are certain things that he just needs.
I feel it for girls as well.
And girls.
And even having a daughter, I feel like she needs the dad.
Yeah,
I still feel like she needs a dad, a protector, you know, see what a man is like, how he should treat you. Because I know obviously her dad treats her nice, so maybe she can see it. So I still think for dads, for girls as well.
For girls, yes, but in a different way.
Of course,
In
yeah.
a different way. And I know that from my own upbringing, like when I look at myself and my brother and how we both dealt with not having our dad around.
Yes.
So when I think about it for my elder two, he's around, he's in their life, but he doesn't live in the home. So it's like, okay, there's certain things that I can deal with my daughter with that I can't with my son. Yeah. Because it's just not, I just can't do it as a woman.
And I also think, I feel like there's praise needed. You know, like, in dealing with all these situations, like reminding us, I'm just reminding myself.
When you say praise, you mean praise yourself, Jade, or praise the person?
No, always praise yourself because you've always got to big yourself up because no one else can do it for you.
Yeah.
Praise your children for their good behaviour so that they know that, you know, when they do bad, whatever, and then they're going to get a reward. But also, even if you're co-parenting, this might go a long way to brownie points, praising them for doing things that are good, you know? Because you might, like, I'm just thinking of my...
What things I say is, oh, he really loved it when you did blah, blah, blah. And she really saw how you was really caring for her when you said blah, blah, blah. So I might not say, oh, you're a great dad, or I might on like Father's Day or whatever. I'm not going to pick up the phone and say, you're a great dad. That's just unrealistic. But But if they've had a particularly good experience with him, I will tell him.
Yeah.
Because
How much the children enjoyed
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
because-
I do that. I say
yeah.
she came back
the
really
impact of
happy.
it,
She
yeah.
did this.
She's
Yeah. So
really helped
that's
us
a really
Emotionally
good point.
separating
Yeah.
yourself and
Yeah.
seeing their
Because
relationship.
And that
Because
goes
I
hand
do-
in hand with what I was saying about not being able to do certain things with
Yeah.
my son, because it doesn't mean I haven't done a great job, because I know I have.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
but
I've
yeah,
worked
yeah,
my
yeah.
butt off,
Yeah.
and
It's
I
taken
feel
two.
like I'm a good mum. But there are certain things that my son needs that I can't give.
And
That's
also,
right.
And
what
that's fine.
you were saying about your partner's he's more
Calmer,
calm. My
yeah.
husband's more calm. You know, like
I think
I think
men
as
generally
women,
are.
as women, we've got so many
To
things going on. We've
deal
got
with.
100
That's
tabs
it,
open.
that's it.
But
Yeah.
they're
I
just
always
like
say
they're a
that.
bit simpler and a bit like everyone needs to chill out.
Yeah.
here, do you know
it's a
what
good
I
thing
mean?
Because they
Jane's
get
married.
to chill out.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
I mean, the piece,
I'll have a drink.
the piece of
Oh, you like that one, Cardo, yeah? Yeah, from a dad's perspective.
Yeah.
And
I
it just-
don't want to sleep like a baby. I want to sleep like a man.
You know, innit?
the thing that I would say in terms of like the wrapping up kind of reflective thing, and I sort of wish I'd been able to do it because I think it's really, really hard. If you're separating and co-parenting, is plan everything.
Yeah.
Talk about, because you think that you're going to get to it,
Yeah.
or you think you're going to do it. So if you know that you have a thing about chocolate before 10 o'clock, just write it down on a piece of paper and tell somebody, because at some point you're going to have an argument over chocolate before 10 o'clock.
Yeah, it's
and it's
true.
like,
No, it's true.
that's the thing that I think these kind of things and examples for people can be really helpful, because there's no one way to do it either,
Yeah.
because there's no two
Yeah.
people
The
that are
same,
doing
yeah.
it the same.
Yeah.
Well,
Nobody
that was the
told me
thing
the
that I
dreams
think
of
bringing
motherhood.
those things that I
That's my
think is
book.
important, like a screen time, like a thing, doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's going to go your way, but at least it's kind of there without it bringing it up in an argument situation. It feels so weird though, because it's like, okay, so we're going to break up, but here's my 10 list of things that I'm going to do. And it's going to feel really weird,
Yeah,
but
but you've got to be
you will be
prepared.
so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
grateful that you
Communication.
have
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
If you can, even if you can just do it about 3 things.
Yeah.
Off the back of that, before we
So we're running out of time.
Look, don't rush me. Right?
I did tell you guys, didn't I?
Off the back of that, yeah, I will say, if you have an issue, what you're saying, don't bring it up when they've brought their issue to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Strategic.
I
I
say-
cannot
I always
stand
say, do it
that.
when everything's all level.
Calm.
Do it
Yeah.
when everything's calm.
And
Look,
then you're
I did
in
Like
a
you
nice
said, make a
vibe.
note of it. Make a
You're
note.
a nice vibe, and you feel great, and then you can say it
it's
nicely.
in a nice way.
Mhm.
It's
They're
a
more willing to
preemptive thing.
receive.
They
Yeah.
might not
Instead of-
receive it greatly, but
I
still
like that
you
one. That's
said
it.
it
I
in a
like that
nice
one.
No,
way.
you've got to pick
I
your
like that one.
moment.
But that even in a relationship,
Even in a
if my
relationship.
partner's come to me and said, look, I really want to talk to you about X, Y, and Z, it's not my time now to tell you about what I've been harboring for 3 days.
Yeah.
It's let me give you the
That washing
floor.
up.
Let me give you the floor
Yeah.
to listen.
Yeah.
Let me acknowledge what you're saying, and then if there's time or if the mood is right, then bring my
To
tea.
me, it's like we are the queens, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We're the queens. This is a game of chess, okay? So we have to do things strategically. But you just have to take time. Don't rush. No rush. You're in control of everything. If they're smart, happy wife, happy life, or happy mother, happy children, right? And then we just plan everything, and whatever way which we have to do it, we can get that shit done. But just do it strategically and calmly, and we will be fine.
Yeah,
I
know
remember
our
that.
She
power.
says,
shouting my
I was gonna
face
say,
off.
you just remember that tonight,
Know
yeah?
our power.
So before we finish, we want to big up our sponsor,
Yeah.
Kay's
Finish.
Cocktails, who has come and given us our lovely refreshments. We've got our lychee beauty flavour.
Bubblegum martini.
Which one is this? By the Sea. This is gorgeous.
This may be the
By
reason
the
why we've
sea.
laughed so much and cackled so much,
and spoken
guys.
over each other the whole time.
And it's suitable for vegans.
But find her on Instagram, Kay's Cocktails, and she will DM you and get back to you with your order.
Made by a woman and a mum, so you'll be supporting
A small business.
yeah.
Well, I just want to thank you guys for coming.
It's been lovely.
You are our followers,
Thank you,
and you're in the
ladies.
comment section, and we just wanted to bring the comment section to life.
That's
and it
it.
was
Thank you.
fabulous.
Our
you.
loyal
Thank you so
people,
much.
thank you so much for coming.
So,
Peace out, players.